Liam McNeeley is a cold-ass white boy.
Tell me what you Hornets said it, I'm golden.
So we're going to kick off our draft series by talking about Liam McNeeley, simply because Bleacher Report posted a new mock draft today, and that's who they had the Heat selecting at number 20th overall with that Golden State Warriors pick. Now, Liam has some good size on him. Pause, unpause. But because he's a 6'7", 210-pound small forward who is only 19 years old, and going into this draft, I do prefer the Heat take the younger prospect with some more upside, just because the Heat kind of suck right now. So it doesn't make sense to take an older win-now player when you're not ready to win now. So I'm sorry to my Walter Clayton fans out there. But at 6'7", I do think Liam could play the small forward in the league as well, although I personally would prefer that he's a bigger two guard in the league, but it remains to be seen what position he will play. Now, at his freshman season at UConn, he averaged 15 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists on a very concerning 38% from the field, and an even more concerning 32% from three. Yeah, and you shot 12% in your last YMCA league. Hey, listen, y'all, it's telling me that 43.5% of y'all are subscribed to the channel, and I just want to let you know I appreciate that. And to the other 56.6%, I also appreciate you because you're watching this video, but your subscription is still appreciated. So let's get back into the video. The reason those numbers are so concerning is because his calling card is shooting. A team will draft him because of his shooting, but we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. But I do want to note he was almost an 87% free throw shooter, which is a sign of good mechanics. You could see he has beautiful form. He just couldn't get the shots to fall this year at a rate that he wanted to, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But off rip, there is one thing that I really like about him a lot, which is simply the fact that he went to UConn. He played under Dan Hurley, who I think is a phenomenal coach. He was actually up for the Lakers head coaching job before J.J. Redick got that. And just in general, I think he does a great job developing NBA talent. You could look as recent as this past draft with Stephon Castle, Donovan Clingan. Both those guys had some pretty decent rookie seasons. And in general, UConn is a historic college basketball franchise when it comes to developing NBA talents. Although of recent, it hasn't been as great. Once I looked into it, I was shocked to see how bad it was. Of the last 10 players to come out of UConn, behind Castle and Clingan, the third best player might be Shabazz Napier. And as a Heat fan, we know how bad that turned out. But in general, they've had a lot of great NBA players over the years. If you want to look a little more recently, Kemba Walker, Andre Drummond, Rudy Gay. And then if you look back further in the past, obviously they got our guy Ray Allen, our guy Caron Butler, Rip Hamilton. So they have produced a lot of NBA talent over the years, which I do like in a prospect, because coming out of a school who knows how to produce NBA players just gives you a better background to be ready to coming into the league. But Liam McNeeley was a guy that was pretty highly touted even in high school. He played for the legendary Montverde Academy, who has always had stacked rosters. A few years ago, they had like 9 NBA players with Cade Cunningham and Scotty Barnes. But even Liam's high school class was phenomenal. Obviously, you see Cooper Flagg here, who everyone knows. They also had Derek Queen, who was phenomenal at Maryland. He'll be a lottery pick as well. But Liam McNeeley was a McDonald's All-American. He was actually ranked number 9 in the class of 2024. I saw videos on YouTube of him and Cooper Flagg, and they were saying this is the most dominant duo in the country. So it's very clear that there's a lot of skill there with Liam McNeeley that potentially could be pulled out of him once he gets to the NBA. Also, by the way, that Monteverde class also had Asa Newell, who went to Georgia, and he'll also be a lottery pick. And then they also had a guy named Ace Flagg, who is literally Cooper Flagg's twin brother. I had no idea. Maybe I'm a casual, but this is the first time I'm learning that Cooper Flagg had a twin brother. But anyways, there's very clearly a lot of potential there with Liam McNeeley, and where he selected to go in all these mock drafts actually varies a ton. Bleacher Report, of course, had him at number 20, but then I saw CBS at 14, The Ringer at 16, CBS at 12, NBADraft.net at 22, and Tankathon at 14. So outside of NBADraft.net, all these other platforms have him going a lot sooner than number 20. So I think there's a lot of potential there. Teams are probably just scared about the poor field goal percentage that he had in college. But there was a lot of talent prior to that. Some of the player comps that I've seen was Keegan Murray. And then, well, outside of that, I really only ever saw one other comp, which is Corey Kispert. I appreciate Bleacher Report for giving the Keegan Murray comparison, because almost always these platforms compare white guys to other white guys, and that's what everyone else did with Corey Kispert. And I guess I get it, because if Liam McNeely's a shooter, they want to compare it to another shooter. Most of them are white, but they couldn't give us a Malik Beasley, a Tim Hardaway Jr., no one. But anyways, a lot of the badges that I've seen for Liam McNeeley are catch and shoot threat, off-ball mover, three-point marksman. You get the drift, right? Now, obviously, I'm concerned because of that three-point percentage, but every time I read an article about why he shot so poor from three, they all described it as basically an anomaly. The CBS Sports Bio said they had him going to the Spurs, and they said the Spurs are one team that's smart enough to see past the poor three-point percentage. McNeeley shot from behind the arc last season as he was thrust into a starting role by necessity. So I guess maybe he wasn't put in the best spot. The Ringer also mentions that one reason McNeeley actually struggled was he wasn't being optimized in Dan Hurley's system, which relies on heavy movement from the shooters, flying off screens, quick lateral movement, and on those catch and shoot opportunities where he's kind of in motion, he only shot 28% from three, but on his wide open standstill catch and shoot, he actually shot 43% from three. So it sounds like he's a lot better catch and shoot three-point shooter from the standstill than off motion. But in general, he shot 36.7% from three overall. Now, that was kind of conflicting, what I read from the Ringer, because all these other articles talk about how great he is moving without the ball, which he is. I've read he's very good and uses his high basketball IQ to find these open spots on the floor. But if you're not knocking down those shots at a consistent rate, then it doesn't really matter if you're able to find the open spot of the courts. I don't know. Yahoo Sports says that McNeeley is the type of player who might average 15 points per game, but you need to give him attention like he averages 35 because of the way that he stresses the defense with his constant motion. He relocates, he cuts, he sniffs out the open space, and makes his way there using deception or screen. So definitely sounds like he's very smart at getting the shots that he wants, especially off the catch. Hopefully he can knock them down at a higher rate in the NBA, kind of like he did in high school. Now, usually it doesn't work like that. Usually you don't get worse going into college and then better getting into the NBA, but I suppose it's possible. Obviously, that bio that we just read, it reminds us heavily of Duncan Robinson, who all we ever hear about Duncan Robinson is the gravity, which I know I'm doing quote-unquote gravity, but it's true. Duncan is probably the best off-ball mover in Miami Heat history. And when he had those few seasons where he was lights out from three, you can see the entire defense shift just when they chased Duncan Robinson around the entire court. Now, maybe one of the reasons that Liam didn't really convert those looks at a high rate was the ankle injury. He did miss some time this year dealing with that ankle injury, so maybe it never healed 100%. But by the time he did come back, he played 2 games in the tournament, and he really wasn't great. In their first game versus Oklahoma, he shot 2 of 13 from the field. And then in their second game versus Florida, he did have 22 points, but it was on 6 of 16, 37% from the field. And I get it. It was versus Florida, who ended up being the champion. So maybe I shouldn't fault him too much for that. If you're watching this video, then you are an elite ball knower. So why not take advantage of it with MyBookie? Listen, y'all, throughout the NBA playoffs, I'll be using their live betting feature to smash the Davion Mitchell overs and smash the Rudy Gobert unders, and then using their early cash out option to stack up the profits. If you want to do the same, make sure to sign up for MyBookie using promo code MM50, which will instantly boost your first deposit. And then once the games wrap up, you can check out their casino, which has blackjack and slots and roulette. You name it, bet on anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Now let's get back into the video. But that's pretty much it as far as his scoring potential. I mean, he's not a great finisher in the paint at all. For a movement shooter, he has decent handle to be able to get there, but his lack of athleticism leads to a bunch of awkward finishes, and he only shot 46% at the rim at UConn, which is not great at all. You compare that to a guy like Duncan Robinson or Max Strus. Those guys led the league in 2-point percentage for a couple of seasons just because they were so efficient when they got to the rim. And if you're going to be known as a shooter in the NBA, that means that guys are going to run you off the line. And if you can't finish at the rim at an efficient clip, then you might not be that great a player in the league. That being said, there is some high upside scoring there. If he can get the shot down, there's the potential that he has the ability to get hot and really get rolling. We saw one game at UConn where he had 38 points. So the ability is there. Like, I don't think you just randomly score 38 points in a college game if you don't have high scoring upside potential. And again, the 3-point percentage or the free throw percentage was at about 87%. So the mechanics are great. Just by watching, you could tell the form is beautiful. Quick release, full extension, elbow in, follow through, all the stuff that you hear the coaches clamor at your first basketball camp. He has all that. And just overall, he does seem like a very high IQ player who knows how to make the right read as well. He plays in the flow of the offense. He can run the occasional pick and roll. So just not a guy who's going to stagnate the offense. And if you remember, Duncan Robinson didn't have a lot of those facilitating chops when he came to the league. He really started to develop that two-man game with Bam Adebayo where they did those dribble handoffs, the pick and rolls, and that's when we saw Duncan be a much better facilitator. So if Duncan can kind of grow into that potential, maybe a guy like Liam McNeeley can as well. Although he did have like a 2 assist to 2 turnover ratio at UConn, which is not that good at all. But some other weaknesses include his off the dribble shooting. He only shot 15% on dribble pull-up middies. Obviously, that's not good either. And again, as a three-point shooter who's going to get ran off the line, having that midi pull-up just helps a ton. Now, just to keep comparing him to the Miami Heat shooters of late, Duncan and Strus, neither one of those guys was really doing dribble pull-ups either. So as long as Liam can get to the rim and finish, I don't think the lack of a midi pull-up is that critical. Obviously, once you get that, that's when you turn into one of the elite scorers like a Tyler Hero, who we see get to that mid-range game all the time. He takes his defender off the dribble, finishes with that floater from 10 to 15 feet. That's when you come from being just a shooter to an elite scorer, which I'm not expecting from Liam McNeeley, right? He'll be the 20th pick in the draft. Another weakness of his, it says he's not a shot creator, which is fine. If you're drafting him to be a catch-and-shoot player, you don't need him to be an isolation shot creator. I don't have that big an issue with it. Now, the lack of athleticism that I keep hearing about, the below-the-rim finishing, that's concerning to me because at 6'7", you got to be able to be a little physical. You got to be able to finish in that paint. And defensively, there's obviously some concerns there as well. If you're not the quickest lateral mover, I find it hard to believe you're going to stay in front of your guys. And just as a Heat fan, it's truly frustrating watching all of these guys continue to get picked on. And I'm just tired of putting one-dimensional guys out there. I want to, from now on, I want the Heat to play guys that are at least competent on both sides of the ball. Overall, he's not my favorite prospect, which it kind of sucks. We're starting our draft series talking about him. But, hey, that's who Bleach Report had us taking. But also, I want to acknowledge, again, this is pick 20. You're very unlikely to find an incredible prospect with that pick. If you're a Heat fan, you just want someone who can maybe contribute now or have a lot of potential. I guess one or the other. You know, if you go for at 20 is a good spot to pick a win now guy, if that's the direction the Heat want to go, although I don't agree. But if you do go a win now guy, you want to be able to play. If you don't, get a guy who has a ton of upside. And that just doesn't really sound like Liam McNeeley to me. Or just get a guy who you think other teams might want. Because if you don't trade that pick by draft night to the Bucks for Giannis Antetokounmpo, draft someone that you think the Bucks might want, so you have a shot. But overall, that's really all I got to say for this video. Let me know your thoughts down below on Liam McNeeley. We will be doing tons of these draft videos throughout the entire offseason, so make sure to drop some of your favorite prospects down below so I can get to a video on them. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. All this stuff is greatly appreciated, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.